Hello there, this is Anthony Johnson, and the premise of this video is to discuss index views. So index views are similar to regular views. It's a stored select statement that returns a result set. Typically views are used more so to protect the back end data as far as all the various tables it takes to come up with that result set. And also, just to uncomplicate things, it helps the non-technical parts or components of your team or your company to interact with the data from a bird's eye view, I would say, because they aren't familiar with the back end code that it takes to produce those results. So if you see here, we have three tables. We have our insurance table, we have our gender table, and we have our region table. So we're going to zone in on this insurance table. You see for gender, it has a 1, and for region, it has a 1. And then you see we have 1 for male, that's their gender ID, and we have 1 for Northeast, which is the region ID. So essentially, we want to create an indexed view to display these values. And then also with index views, any modifications that's made to the base tables will reflect inside of our view as well. Since these tables will be combined by schema or be binded by schema, you are unable to damage the baseline tables, meaning like you can't drop them due to the constraint that's in place or the trigger, they say. It will stop you from doing that until you drop that view. That's when you'll be able to actually drop that base table. So let's start with our, let's start creating. Create view. Then we do our view name. With schema binding, all one word, as, and then now we're going to start with our statement. As you can see here, we have our default schema name because these three tables are not within a schema. So it's DBO, and that is imperative when trying to create an index view because the schemas must all be binded together. And that's one of the nuances, is that the schema name must be present. So let's continue building. We're going to join our insurance table to our gender table. All three base tables must have the schema name involved. In our case, it is DBO. I just want to make sure I stress that enough, or you will get an error. So on I.gender equals G.gender ID. Join I.region. Oh, my apologies. We need to join this table right here, which is the region table. Give it a alias of R on I.region equals R.region ID. All right, so now we have that built out. We want to essentially mimic this top table here, but opposed to having the integers there, we're going to swap those out with the actual values. So the claim ID is in our insurance table, so we're going to take care of that. Age is also in our insurance table. The gender is in our G table, which is the alias G. The BMI is in the insurance table. Children as well. region table, which is signified by R, we're going to place region there. And then for the actual claim charge is in the insurance table. Alrighty, so far so good. Let me just comment these top three out. Top three tables. Let's see what we have here. That is correct. I have to have claim ID, not claim charge. Okay. So now we can go ahead and execute that, and successful as expected. So now we have to create a unique clustered index. So create unique clustered index. That's literally the beginning of the syntax. Then give it a name. We'll say IND for index. We'll say VW ID for insurance details. So now we have to put our table name and our view name on there. In our case, it's going to be VW underscore insurance details. And then we specify the column names. If your table, well, inside of your select statement, if you have a primary key in there, you can just place the primary key in there, or you can add the whole select list up here within the view, because essentially you want to create a unique cluster of rows. So every row should be unique essentially. So in our case, we do have the claim ID, but I'm going to actually just specify all of the columns that's in our view to make sure we all get a unique blend. All right, add our semicolon there. It's going to execute that. And there you go. Just do a Control-Shift-R. We're going to just actually comment this out. Control-KC. I mean, we can also, we just take a peek at it. Nothing too major. We just do a select top 100 all from. And as you can see, we have our indexed view. Although some of the values are a little wonky as far as the claim IDs, that's not really the premise of the video. But that is essentially how you create a indexed view, or if you get the question, how do you materialize an index within a database? This is how you do it. Okay, so let's go over to the GUI and actually just take a peek at how is it stored within a database. So we click on our database, we click on views, we open up our freshly created view. Let me just refresh it just to make sure it's everything really fresh. Okay, so now we open up our view, then we click on the indexes, and as you can see here, we have a cluster view which matches the cluster index that we created, the unique cluster index that we created for this. And if you can go here, right click on the view, the views index, and then script index as, create to, and then place it in a new query window. And as you can see, this is our cluster unique index. that we created for that specific view. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. I hope you're able to utilize this little concept here, which is the index views. Again, if you're asked on the interview, how do you materialize an index, or can you materialize an index within a database? You could say yes, and you say by creating an index view. You must use the with schema binding. Your base tables must be specified by the schema name when you're joining them. And also, you have to create a unique cluster index on that view that you just created. So I hope this was helpful. Hope you guys have a blessed day, and bye-bye.